Next, we're gonna move on to what everybody's waiting for. The main man, Itachi Uchiha. Right. So Itachi, there's a lot to say about him, but I mean, it can kind of be summarized. Right. So he's a genius tactician. He's a child prodigy. He kind of has everything besides, I guess, stamina. Right. So he's an expert in hand-to-hand combat. Because he was in the Anbu, right? He has Shuriken Jutsu. He's able to, like, through the flashbacks with Sasuke and everything, we were able to see that he's really, really good with his Shuriken. He has insane Genjutsu ability. And actually, I want to mention his intelligence as well. So, a couple of things that he does, he's able to read, like, pretty far ahead, like, read people pretty far ahead, and plan things in case of, something going wrong. For example, when he first joined the Akatsuki, he kind of figured that Orochimaru was kind of after him, and he put him into a genjutsu immediately after they already met. So he kind of had him in the palm of his hand for the entire time until Orochimaru tried to attack him, and then he just said, "No, you," right? So Itachi, you can't really underestimate him, and there's a reason why people say that he's one of the strongest, or probably people say that he is the strongest sometimes, but I kind of disagree with that. But he's definitely one of the strongest in the Akatsuki for sure. Now let's go into his ninjutsu as well. So he has a Sharingan, right? Has the fire nature. He has the fireball jutsu. I'm not gonna go too much into his chakra nature and everything. I really want to focus on his Mangekyo Sharingan. So his Mangekyo Sharingan, he has the Tsukuyomi, where he's able to put his enemy into a genjutsu that resembles real life, and he's able to control every, like, physical aspect, like the physics of the genjutsu itself. So, like, the time, the space, and the mass of every single thing. So he was able to put Kakashi under Tsukuyomi, and in the 1 second that he was actually out in the real world, he was already in Tsukuyomi for 72 hours, where he was relentlessly stabbed constantly, and it kind of just broke him, and he was hospitalized after that, right? So Tsukuyomi is no joke. Next, we have his Amaterasu, right? So his Amaterasu is like like a black flame that he can emit from his right eye, and it kind of engulfs everything in its path until the target's completely destroyed, right? So he was able to he had some quite impressive feats with the Amaterasu, like going through, like being able to burn through Jiraiya's, like, toad hallway thing, whatever jutsu that's called, but amongst other things as well, like with Nagato's the dog summon. But besides that, he also has the Susanoo. Now, Itachi's Susanoo is actually very unique, I think. He has, because his Susanoo has possession of the Yatamir and the Totsuka blade, right? So the Yatamir is the shield that he holds on the left side, where it blocks any ninjutsu and taijutsu that's thrown at him, right? It's able to block and reflect, I believe, but let's just kind of keep that out for now. But being able to block every single ninjutsu is very, very OP, right? And not to mention his Totsuka blade, where he's able to, it's a sealing blade where anything that he stabs with the sword gets sealed into the gourd that the Susanoo holds. So his Susanoo pretty much has, like, the ultimate defense and the ultimate offense. So it's pretty ridiculous how stacked his kit is. It's an easy S tier, right? Next, we have Conan. So Conan, we haven't really seen him fight a whole bunch. We realistically only saw her fight once, and that was, like, against Obito. I mean, we also saw her fight briefly against Jiraiya, but that's not too much to mention. Now, her kit consists of the Shikigami dance, so she's able to control paper. She's able to turn her entire body into paper, kind of like fly around, do surveillance, like being able to change her, I guess, her body into, like, butterflies, like butterfly origami. Fly around, hear things. It was also said that she's a sensory type, but realistically, in terms of offense, I think the biggest thing that we have for her is the her ability to mix in paper bombs with her regular paper. So, for example, like when she was fighting I think some of the people in Konoha, she was able to mix in some paper bombs and kind of use that for offense. Another thing is when she fought Obito, with preparation, she becomes very strong. She kind of filled the entire sea with I think 6 billion paper bombs or something like that. Part of the entire sea, dropped Obito into the abyss, and then just had a giant explosion with the 6 billion paper bombs. Now, unless we have, so it's one of those things, right? If she has enough preparation, then obviously she'd be one of the strongest people. But unlike unless she has the preparation for it, it's kind of, she's not all that strong. I think I would put her around the level below Deidara, because Deidara has more sheer offensive capability. But I think she would be in low to mid B tier for sure. Now, next we have the 6 Paths of Pain, right? So the 6 Paths of Pain, it's really kind of a no-brainer. He's easily an S tier, right? So the 6 paths, they all have connected vision. That's first and foremost, right? They're all puppets. They're all controlled by Nagato. So they are able to synchronize extremely well. It's essentially like Naruto shadow clones that never go away, right? Unless they're destroyed. But they all have connected vision. He has no blind spots. He's able to control all 6 of them. And even he doesn't even pull out all 6 of them unless he really needs to, like what he did with Jiraiya. He was able to beat Jiraiya with just... Well, I guess he pulled out all the stops and he beat Jiraiya with all 6 of them. But anyway, so the 6 paths of pain consist of the Naraka path, which is the King of Hell, right? The path of the King of Hell. So the King of Hell is like this summon where he's able to interrogate people, and then like he kind of just holds them, I guess chokes them out, and then interrogates them, asks them questions, and he's able to pull out their tongues, I believe. I think that's what it was. But the biggest thing about the King of Hell is that he's actually able to heal the other paths of pains by just throwing them inside, and then they come out as like a fresh copy almost, right? So that's because of that. The King of Hell is more like a supportive type. He's not really the offensive, but he's still very like useful for sure. Right. Next we have the Human Path, which is another supportive type. The Human Path is kind of like to gain information about the enemy. So the Human Path is able to read minds if he touches somebody. So like what he did with Shizune, and he's able to pull out souls of the people that he touches. So that's actually really strong. But the thing is, like, the Human Path doesn't have a lot of offensive capability. It wasn't shown to be very quick. I guess it really depends on the corpse itself, but it didn't seem all that threatening. So that's why I consider it as like a what's it called? Like a supportive type. Next we have the Preta Path, which is the one that's able to absorb chakra. It's pretty self-explanatory. The Animal Path, which is the one with all the summons. It's able to summon the other paths of pain, as well as a couple of other summons, like the giant bird with the drill beak. The chameleon is able to turn invisible. The rhino, a couple of other ones like a giant crab. But the most scary one is definitely the dog, where it's almost like a hydra, where you cut off one head and 2 more come out. Right? It's just like an invincible dog that constantly, relentlessly chases after the target. And that's definitely the scariest one by far. Next is the Ashura Path, which is kind of weird, honestly. It's kind of like a mechanical body modification one, where he's able to grow out extra arms, have mechanical modifications like a cyborg, like blast out rockets, little missiles, like a laser beam, and kind of pull out a bunch of saws and weapons at his disposal. It's a weird one. And finally, we have the Diva Path, right? Which is the Yahiko pain that we always see, the face of the pains. So he has the Shinra Tensei, which is the Almighty Push, and the Bansho Tenin, the Universal Pull, and of course the Planetary Devastation Chibaku Tensei, right? So it's definitely the strongest pain by far. It only has a very small, cooldown between the every Shinra Tensei or Bansho Tenin that it's able to use, and he's able to fly because of the his ability. And if he really needs to, he always has like a really strong almighty push that he can use as well to like clear off like the side of the earth, like what he did with Konoha, before Naruto came back. So Pain, because of his abilities, he has a lot of versatility. It's essentially like fighting 6 people that are all synchronized together perfectly, right? So definitely an S tier. Plus he's able to disrupt chakra if he stabs you with the rod, which just happens to be their main weapons as well. So very strong physically, very strong with ninjutsu, able to disrupt people's chakra. He just kind of has it all. Next we have Orochimaru. Now Orochimaru is one of the ones that it's kind of hard to gauge. We all know he's very strong, right? It's kind of portrayed in the right away in Naruto that he's one of the strongest people that we know in the show, at least in the early stages, right? But realistically, we don't really see a whole lot of stuff that he does that's very unique, I would say, because we know he can control a lot of snakes, but we don't really see a whole lot of his kit, right? We see him shedding skin whenever he takes damage, like he's able to regurgitate like a fresh copy of himself out of his mouth, and he's able to connect his body when he gets damaged and, let's say, like cut in half. He's able to hold his body together with snakes and kind of just snap it back into place, which is kind of odd. But realistically, we don't see him use a lot of ninjutsu. Like, we know he's able to because people have said like a lot that he's able to, but we don't really see it for our own eyes. It's like when people say that Sarutobi is like the god of shinobi and he knows every single ninjutsu that's ever been invented or something, or been part of the village, but we don't really see it. Like, we know he's supposed to be strong, but we don't really see it. But based off of what we see, based off what we know, Orochimaru definitely is still very strong. At least he's very physically strong as well. So one thing that's not really mentioned a lot is that he's actually a very good swordsman, right? So his main weapon is the snake sword that he always carries. He's able to turn his snakes into swords, I guess. And he was the one that actually taught Sasuke how to wield the sword as well. It just really kind of flies under the radar because of how creepy and scary he is. But that's something we should mention as well. And actually, another thing is that he also has the Edo Tensei, right? So he's the Unholy World revival. I forgot what exactly the translation, but Edo Tensei is able to bring back at least the first and second Hokage, and actually the fourth one as well. Yeah, the fourth Hokage, and from a filler, or I don't remember if it was the game or the filler, but he's able to bring back the third Kazekage as well, the one that Sasori had the puppet of. So we definitely know he has a lot to his kit. We just don't exactly see it. I'm going to put him either above or below Kisame. I think I'm going to put him next to Sasori because I feel like him and Sasori are pretty comparable in terms of how strong they are. And honestly, like, he's a very sly and clever guy, but so is pretty much everybody else in this A-list here. Next we have Nagato. So Nagato has... Okay, before we talk about his ability to use all the pain powers, Nagato as himself, he's able to use all chakra natures, right? As what Jiraiya told us. So he's able to use all the chakra natures. We know he has a big kit that he actually can use in terms of ninjutsu. We know he's very physically strong, and we actually, because he was trained by Jiraiya and everything as well, right? So he's good at taijutsu. We can assume, and he's good at ninjutsu as well. But what really puts him over the top is that he's able to access all the paths of pain, like the powers and the paths of pain. So, honestly, I think even Naruto said himself, but I personally also believe that he's stronger as Nagato than he is the 6 paths of pain. So, the reason for this is because as a single body, or as like the split bodies in the paths of pain, he's able to only do certain things with each of them, right? So, he's only able to absorb chakra with one of the pains. He's only able to summon with one of the pains. He's only able to, do like an almighty push, or like modify his body with different types of pains, right? But we saw when he fought against Naruto and Killer Bee that having all these things together in one body is ridiculously strong. right? So he was able to, you know, absorb all the chakra from Killer Bee to regenerate his own body, almost like what Samehada does for Kisame. So he's able to regenerate himself through absorbing the chakra. That's one. He's able to conjure or make like new body types or like more arms and stuff like that from the Ashura path. He's able to do like missiles. He's able to do like a laser beam. He's able to like make like 4 or 5 different arms to come out of his body. He's able to pull out souls and read minds like with the human path. It's ridiculous. It really is. So because of that, like honestly, he's stronger than regular Pain, so he just deserves to be right here. And finally, we have Obito, right? So there's really not a lot I can say about Obito. He's a one trick, right? He has one skill. It's a one very, very good skill, but he has one skill. So, but the thing is, like, this one skill is so OP that it's easily the top of S tier. Like, easily. He's definitely the strongest one out of the entire Akatsuki, I would say, right? And I think the only person that gave Obito a bit of trouble was Itachi, because Itachi figured out what he was trying to do and everything. But even still, I think in just a straight up fight, I think Obito would beat Itachi pretty much every time. Now, that is to say, unless like somehow with the Genjutsu and everything, but that's up for debate. But yeah, I think this is what I'm comfortable putting everybody. Hopefully I explained everything well enough for you guys to kind of agree or disagree. If you don't agree, or if you do agree even, put it down in the comments. I do want to hear your opinions as well. I think this is a very interesting topic to go over. So yeah, please let me know. And if you have any other suggestions and ideas, drop a comment down below as well to let me know. If you like the video, consider liking and subscribing. I do want to put other videos out in the future, but you know, a little bit of encouragement would be helpful. But thanks for watching, guys.